Hello everyone, I'm trying an experiment today with the money that you very generously sent on Ko-fi.com. I've gone out and bought a holder for my phone so it can go on the dashboard. Didn't want to buy a dash cam because the phone's good enough, and so hopefully this will work, and this is an experiment. I'm going to take you on a little drive around the city centre very safely. The driving will be the most important thing and just show you a few little things that you'd see on a tour with me, except on a tour we have a chauffeur and all sorts. You just got me driving today. I'm starting off at a really great place. I'm starting at the pier head, at the very spot where Paul McCartney parked his car, or James Corden did in carpool karaoke the day that we met him at the end of our tour with the Sandberg family, with Irene the gazelle. She'll laugh at that, I hope. Anyway, so I'm going to turn the camera around now and you'll get a view of the lovely pier head on a beautiful day. I'm not going to take the regular route because a lot of the roads are closed in Liverpool today, but let's see how we get on. You up for that? Good. There we go. I think that works quite well. The view is beautiful, and I'm starting from the very spot that Paul McCartney and James Corden were parked up in carpool karaoke. That's got such great memories for me, and the Sandberg family, of course, with Irene the gazelle. Anyway, so in front of you and over to the right you've got the Liver Building with the liver birds on top. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail as I never do on these. This is an experiment for me to just see how the camera works, so I'm just going to give you very basic details now. But you can see the Liver Building, and next to that you've got the Cunard Building flying the flags of England and of the United Kingdom. The Cunard Building is where you check in for your liners to go and start a new life in what became the New World. And in front of us and left you've got the Mersey Ferries terminal. That's where you pick up your ferry to go and ferry across the Mersey, which isn't on at the moment, but I've heard rumours that it's going to be starting soon. You can also just about see, and I'm going to drive forward now and take a right turn, but you can also see the Beatles statue by Andy Edwards, and that's where Paul, of course, came out and stood and photobombed our tour, which was pretty cool. So I'm not going to take you over there. It's pretty busy at the moment. I think I can see Paul Kiddle actually just getting ready, but there's too many people around for my liking. I am taking lockdown really seriously, but this is a chance for you to show you Liverpool in lockdown, because the roads are a lot quieter than they usually are, but they're starting to get a bit busier than they have been, to be honest. But over to the left is the Cunard Building. For the fans of the Crown, you might recognise that because they used it for Queen Victoria's visit to the United States in the latest series, but it was the headquarters of the Cunard shipping line. And as we turn now, you'll see the building in front and left. That's just the ventilation shaft for the Mersey Tunnel, which is rather beautiful architecture. But to the right you've got the Port of Liverpool building. Now, for those of you who were fans of the film Yesterday, then that's where Jack and Ellie stayed overnight. They turned it into a hotel. It was once the headquarters of our dock company, built in 1908, but they used it as a hotel for the film, which I absolutely love, but I know there's arguments out there whether you do or you don't. I don't know why we have to argue. I love it, you don't, so who cares? Anyway, so look up. And that building on the corner, we call it the Stricky Bacon Building. That was headquarters of the White Star shipping line. Beatles connections there, because actually Paul McCartney's dad and John Lennon. No, start again. You see, I'm really rusty. Let's start again. So actually George Harrison's dad and John Lennon's dad both worked at various times for the White Star Line, so maybe that's where they would pick up their wages and things, or they would go and sign on for the latest ships. But it's where the news was broke about the Titanic, sadly. So when the Titanic sank, the bosses had to stand on the balcony around the side and shout out the latest bulletins about the ship. So you can imagine the hysterical scenes on the streets down below there. It was in this area where the Merchant Navy Recruitment Office was as well, where John tried to sign on and was unsuccessful because Auntie Mimi wouldn't let him go away to sea. I think that's the pivotal moment in Yesterday, by the way. Right, let me just negotiate this tricky little junction. It's a nuisance, this one. They're redoing the whole road, so hopefully they're going to make it all a lot easier. There we go. And we're onto the dock road now. Now what you'll see, hopefully you'll get a glimpse of the Albert Dock in front of you and over the Albert Dock is, you'll see it again on the way back, so I'll talk more about it then. But in front of us and left you've got the modern shopping district, the Liverpool one. And that leads you through into the Cavern Club. Now I couldn't get anywhere near the Cavern today because they're taking advantage of the roads being empty to close them for a while. And so the roadworks are going on North John Street, which is where you'll find the Cavern, and also the Hard Day's Night Hotel. So instead, this is not my usual route. I'm going to take you along Hanover Street. I'm going to be perfectly honest here, this was my third attempt at this, and every time I tried to do it, the traffic lights held us up for ages and added loads of time, and I was just waffling away. And so what I am going to do is stop when we get to the traffic lights and start again. Here we go. So we're going to head through to Hanover Street. What you'll see here is a pretty modern shopping district at the moment called Liverpool One, and that was one of the big flagship programmes when Liverpool won the City of Culture year. We were the European City of Culture in 2008. But what they've done at Liverpool One, which is in front of you now, they've made it a mixture of modern and old, and so the gates you see directly in front of you, they're from the old sailors' home, and a lot of the gate panels, the panels from the railings inside were used as railings in the beautiful Portmeirion, which if you follow my page you'll know there's loads of Beatles connections there. There's also a connection with the building in front and to the right, so as we turn you might just make out an eagle on the white building there. It's not so, it used to be golden, in fact it was called the American eagle I believe, but that was run by some of the McCartney family members, and so it does have a McCartney connection. So Hanover Street, named after the Hanoverian royal family. So Liverpool's first dock was built in 1715, so when they were on the throne. So again you've got all the modern and the old. Blue Coat was just down to the left. There's nice stories about that we'll talk about another day. But what you'll see in front and left now is the Epstein Theatre, named in honour of course of Brian Epstein, but it used to be called the Neptune Theatre. Brian was very theatrical, and I think you'd be delighted to know that one of Liverpool's smaller theatres, admittedly, but one of the theatres was named in his honour. Now to the left this is called Church Street, and to the right is Bold Street. Church Street is probably the main, the high street of Liverpool I suppose. When I was a kid it was all pedestrianised. No it wasn't. When I was a kid you could drive through, it's now all pedestrianised, and so it's a lot nicer. But this area is where Brian Epstein's, one of the first city centre stores, because they did have others, but the city centre store was roughly where the Bella Italia is, across to the left. And that was the Nem store of course. And as we turn now, look up, see that building with the blue window frames, it's now over to our right. That was Blacklow's department store, and that's where young George Harrison worked as an apprentice electrician. And so he gave up his job to go and become a rock and roll star instead, much to the upset of his father, who wanted him and his brothers to form a garage. George went and upset the plans. So there's Lime Street Station in front, and to the left is Lime Street Station. We can't quite see it now, but right opposite is also the beautiful St George's Hall. But Lime Street is where you'd arrive if you come in from London to Liverpool. Very, very quiet at the moment, but the Beatles would have made that journey time and time again. Used to be a little cafe on the corner called the Punch and Judy, where they'd wait for Brian Epstein, and it's named after the Punch and Judy theatre show, the puppet show that would have been just opposite there, which John would have visited with his mum and sometimes his little sisters as well, which I think is really sweet. But of course Lime Street is mentioned in the song Maggie May. And as we turn now, they've knocked down some of the really fantastic old buildings here. You've still got traditional old pubs at either end of Lime Street. You've got the Crown there, and we'll see the Vines, the big house in a moment. But what they've done, they've built horrible student accommodation, but they've tried to keep some feeling for the area. So look at these freezers up here. The third one along is of Maggie May. So Maggie May would have plied her trade on Lime Street. She'll never walk down Lime Street anymore, and this is it. Now in front and right you've got Lewis's department store, and I think you've got a good full frontal view there of Mr. Dickie Lewis. To give him his full title, thank you bus, to give him his full title, he's called Liverpool Resurgent. I hope you got a glimpse of him then. And Liverpool Resurgent is a statue by a sculptor called Jacob Epstein, and it was commissioned to show new life in Liverpool after World War II. So hopefully you'll get another glimpse of him now. Don't look if you're easily offended. But now to the left, you've got the Adelphi Hotel, and a lot of you will be feeling terrible withdrawal symptoms for the Adelphi, because of course it's where the annual Beatles convention takes place every year, and this year sadly it has been cancelled. But it also has a couple of other Beatles connections. John Lennon's father worked as a bellboy there for a short while, I believe. And it was built in 1912, same year as the Titanic was launched, so similar Edwardian design. So this is Mount Pleasant. I'll see how long these lights are on red. Oh, we're lucky now, because further up, is he stopping? What's he doing? No, he's going. So further up Mount Pleasant, number 64 to be precise, was the registry office where John married Cynthia. I talked about that in another video a few days ago, so maybe you want to go back and have a look at that one. But it's over to the right, where the white cars park now and all the white vans. It's just to the right there, and that's number 64, Mount Pleasant. We're travelling along Mount Pleasant now, and up the top of the road we will see, well, we might not see, but there is a cathedral, trust me, there's the Catholic Cathedral. And to the right, the street we've just passed by is Rodney Street. That's where Brian Epstein was born. And again, yesterday I published a little video of me outside the birthplace of Brian. To the left, down the next little road, is the new art college, which has been named after John Lennon. And I don't think you'll see the cathedral. You're just going to have to trust me that there's a cathedral over to the left. And in front of us, see the kind of semicircular building there, the medical institution. Well, right behind there was Liverpool Maternity Hospital, the birthplace of John Lennon. And to the left is the Everyman Theatre. The Everyman has a couple of little Beatles connections. It was more about Paul McCartney's brother and the scaffold, but it's also where they premiered Educating Rita, I believe, by local playwright Willie Russell. And also where Willie Russell did a show called Willie Russell did a show called Willie Russell and Friends, a poetry reading, and one of those friends was Paul McCartney. Now over to the right is the Philharmonic dining rooms. Once again, I did that in more detail in one of the videos, which you can find them all online now. But the Philharmonic dining rooms, John Lennon was asked what was the price of fame, and he said he couldn't have a drink in the Phil anymore. It was built to serve the patrons of the Philharmonic Hall, now to the left. But of course it's been made more famous now because Paul McCartney did carpool karaoke he did the secret gig from there. For a while John Lennon lived in Falkner Street, which is up to the left, and down to the right is Rice Street, where you'll find Ye Crack. And of course you can see all the suitcases in front of you now. The sculpture called A Case History, and the art college attended by John, and Liverpool Institute School is down the road there as well. One thing I want you to notice as I'm driving around now are the banners on the lampposts here, the banners thanking the National Health Service. But what you will see, as if by magic, is a huge great cathedral. Look there, that's Liverpool's Anglican Cathedral. It was completed, believe it or not, in 1978. It looks as though it's really ancient, but it's not. Paul McCartney did try and be a choir boy there, but he didn't quite make the grade, as I'm sure many of you know the story. But he did perform, he did premiere a classical piece there, the Liverpool Oratorio. So I think he must have been thinking, you didn't want me then, look what you missed. The building in front of us and left, that's the LIPA Primary School. So LIPA, the Liverpool Institute for Performing Arts, which is commonly known as Paul McCartney's famed school, but Paul is the figurehead for it, I suppose. So what I'd like to do now is show you Chinatown. You wouldn't imagine that we've got a Chinatown in Liverpool, but it's there over to the left. I'm going to take a left turn and you'll see it again in a bit more detail. The only Chinese Beatles connection I can think of, and correct me if I'm wrong, is Beryl Chang, Beryl Williams, Alan Williams' wife. Beryl was part of the Liverpool Chinese community, as was her brother Barry Chang, and together with Alan and Lord Woodbine, Harold Phillips, they all set off to go to Hamburg with the Beatles from the Jacaranda. The Jacaranda is not too far from here either, but one day when I do a more in-depth video, maybe I'll go into the shorter place, the places down the back streets and things, but for now this is just a little experiment to see how I get on. Normally on a tour we have a chauffeur, so Paul or one of his, I can't think, Paul or a replacement. I am so rusty at the moment, I don't know what I'm talking about, but our Paul would be driving for us and I'd just be in the back chatting and showing you pictures and playing you music, so you have to use some imagination. I don't drive the tours myself because I get too distracted. I'm doing this really, really safely though. I feel like I'm on my driving test. I think people will be checking up me driving. Please don't. So we're going to turn onto Parliament Street now. Directly in front of us, that would lead us to the Dingle, and the Dingle of course is where Ringo Starr grew up, but also Freddie Lennon and the Stanley sisters. Auntie Mimi was born in the Dingle. Now over to our left here you've got the Keynes Brewery Village, which is rather a sad sight right now. It's usually absolutely jam-packed. On a day like today it would be pretty busy. I mean, what day is it? It's Wednesday, so even on a Wednesday, you know, there'll still be people out there enjoying the sunshine, but everything is closed at the moment. The bars will be open soon. And I think it's going to be so difficult for social distancing there because it is so popular. I won't be going for a while. I'm going to just sit out in the garden. I'm taking it really, really seriously. I hope nobody saw that car jump the red lights then. Come on. There we go. The mural of the Abbey Road, the Beatles Abbey Road, is down to the left as well. This just gives you a little idea of where everything is in Liverpool, I suppose. This is only the city centre though. I mean, the tours we do take forever. I'm going to move over to the next lane. But this takes us now down back to the Dock Road. So across the way there, I'll take you to the River Mersey. And again, like I said, I want you to look at the lampposts as we drive forward, because the tributes to the key workers and the national health workers, we're taking it really seriously, that we thank them so much for getting out there and saving the world. Basically, the people that you don't always thank really need those thanks at the moment. Everybody who's out working right now. But also what I want you to look at is keep looking at the ground. I think you'll see it now. I spotted this on the way before. We're getting close to the Albert Dock again now. But keep looking on the ground, okay? Did you see it then? The rainbow heart that says thank you, carers. So over to our left now, that would take us to the arena. I always go to call it the Echo Arena. It's called the Marks and Spencer Bank Arena now, which really rolls off the tongue. But that's where Paul's played several times. To the left is Wapping Dock, which are old warehouses from 1855, but they're now really beautiful apartments and a great little pub called the Baltic Fleet. Oh, I'm really thirsty now. But you'll get a great view of Albert Dock now. There you are. Albert Dock were the original old dock warehouses for Liverpool. They built them on the quayside to stop a bit of petty pilfering going on, I think. But now had a new lease of life as a tourist attraction. So within Albert Dock you've got shops, bars, restaurants, and for Beatle fans you've got the Beatles Story exhibition. So much construction work in Liverpool, which is a good thing, you know. I hope Liverpool will get back on its feet again pretty soon, and the construction workers are back in now. So we're almost back to where we started, back to the Pier Head area where Paul did his carpool karaoke. But like I said, that was just a little taste of Liverpool, really, the city centre area, and an experiment for me to see how I get on with this. Loads of cars on the road. It wasn't like this the other day. It's a lot busier than it has been, but that's because the workers, people who are able to work, are back out again now. And of course there's me adding to it. You know the story, I've got to charge this battery in the car. I can't leave it idle for too long. There we go. I was going to switch off them, but they've changed. And we'll take a left turn. You can see the Port of Liverpool building again. It's interesting for me to see how long this takes, actually. But of course, normally we'd get out and we'd have an in-depth look at a lot of these places. So we'll turn down. I think at this point on a tour we will have been going for at least 3 hours. That's the shortest car tour we do, and we'd head up to the Cavern Club and finish there, but we can't get anywhere near it now because of the roadworks. And at one time, in front and left, the Museum of Liverpool, they had the exhibition there for John and Yoko, I've forgotten what it's called now. Double Fantasy, that's it. I told you I'm really rusty. The Double Fantasy exhibition was there, so a lot of tours last year finished there. But here we go. So I'll just turn this around and say a quick goodbye. So yeah, there you are, a little drive around town, little experiment. I hope my driving wasn't too bad. It's lovely to see you all. I've got a t-shirt today, is "Get back and don't let me down." So please get back, come back to Liverpool, don't let me down. Anyway, that's really corny, but thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and if I get the hang of this, I'll do some more. Alright. Goodbye everyone, stay safe, eh? Bye.